I am very privileged in many ways. I want to use that privilege to talk about something very serious happening in the United States. And before you attack me, I would like to state neither Democrats or Republicans are in the right in this situation. One is not speaking out and one is doing it, and one set up the system for them to be able to do it. You can figure out which one is which. I know many people are just gonna dislike the video before hearing me out or just don't care. I mean, my own father yells at me that if people want to come to the United States, they should do it legally and should be holding American flags, which is also ironic since his grandparents are Italian immigrants, but that's besides the point. It's also ironic that immigrants need to pass a test about American history that most of Americans that have lived here their entire life for generations can't even pass. If you don't believe me, I encourage you to take a mock exam of the test online. Our current president says he is only arresting and deporting ruthless criminals, and a lot of people truly believe that. Though there are many cases of sick immigrant children in the midst of treatment getting deported and not being able to have access to life-saving treatment anymore. A previous program known as Medical Deferred Action helped with cases like this, where they couldn't get treatment in their own home country due to rare cases. This program now is only for military service members. This will cause many, many deaths of children that could have easily been prevented. Maybe my view of criminal is different from him, because I don't think children with cancer are gang members, but that's just me. Speaking and writing articles is apparently considered a crime as well under his, whatever we're calling it, presidency. Many students from elementary to grad school have been deported due to speaking out for Palestine and injustices Israel has done to Palestine. Some people still think that this is okay, even though it is not a criminal act, because if you're a guest of America, you should appreciate it. That is not my view. I've lived in America my whole life. I see its positives and its negatives. One of the United States positives is the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law abridging freedom of speech. These rights apply to everyone, including immigrants, or else it would be unconstitutional. The 14th Amendment is making sure it applies to everyone, including immigrants who were born here or naturalized. I mean, the 13th Amendment outlaws slavery, and if that didn't apply to everyone, we would still have slavery. Then again, that's kind of what they are doing by throwing random people in El Salvador. It's slave labor. These people had green cards, work visas, or student visas. They were the exact opposite people that Trump said he would deport. It also ruins the argument people often say, you should do it the right way. These are people in the process of doing it the right way or who have already done it the right way. The people in the process of getting their green card through asylum have to do routine check-ins. And ICE is calling in these routine check-ins early and stopping them from entering the building and deporting them on the spot. But hey, you still may think, this could never happen to me, I was born here. Well, there is this clip from when he didn't know the mic was on, claiming the homegrowns are next to go to El Salvador, courtesy of the New York Post.
Demanded the people wanted to change their government, and they wanted to. He demanded, they love you, they love what you do. Well, you know, I'm not here supportive. I want him to do, homegrown criminals next. Yeah. said, homegrowns are next. The homegrowns built. You got to build about 5 more places.
Yeah, that's big.
All right. It's not big enough. The mandate, the people wanted to change everything.
This shouldn't be shocking, though, as he tried to get rid of birthright citizenship, which luckily was denied by the courts. I mean, come on, America is literally called the melting pot. Again, you may think, but I'm not a criminal, but neither were the immigrants. They used the First Amendment freedom of speech. They did not break a law, they simply used their voice.
This is the moment Tufts University graduate student Rumesa Ozturk was arrested and taken into federal custody. Doorbell camera footage obtained by NBC News shows 2 plainclothes officers approaching the 30-year-old in Somerville outside of Boston. Ozturk at first appears to back away before more agents approach, one eventually taking her phone out of her hand. Officers then take her backpack off, handcuff her, and lead her across the street to a car. An onlooker heard questioning why the officers' faces are covered. Ozturk's lawyer says she was on her way to break Ramadan fast with friends on Tuesday night when she was detained without explanation. She says her client, a Turkish national, was in the U.S. working toward a PhD in child study and human development on a valid F-1 visa, which allows foreign nationals to pursue academics without the intention of immigration. In a statement, the Department of Homeland Security today, writing in part, DHS and ICE investigations found Ozturk engaged in activities in support of Hamas, a foreign terrorist organization that relishes the killing of Americans. Glorifying and supporting terrorists who kill Americans is grounds for visa issuance to be terminated. DHS did not reference specific incidents, but in March of last year, Ozturk co-authored an op-ed for Tufts student newspaper, condemning the university's dismissive nature and condescending tone when responding to calls for the school to acknowledge the Palestinian genocide and divest from companies with direct or indirect ties to Israel. Ozturk's attorney says no charges have been filed to her knowledge and that she's been unable to contact her client. ICE detention records updated today say that Ozturk is now in ICE custody in Basile, Louisiana. Tufts president says the school had no pre-knowledge of this incident and did not share any information with federal authorities prior to the event. Adding, from what we have been told subsequently, the student's visa status has been terminated, and we seek to confirm whether that information is true. The arrest comes on the heels of the high-profile detention of Columbia grad student activist and permanent resident Mahmoud Khalil in New York, spreading fear in the community.
The fact that someone can just be disappeared into the abyss for voicing an idea is absolutely horrifying.
Maybe you are still not convinced because your family has been here for generations, so it's still not your problem. Well, there's this little thing called due process, which is specifically the 5th and 14th Amendment. The 5th Amendment doesn't only give you the right to remain silent, it also requires the due process of law. It states you cannot deny a citizen life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Due process is a guarantee to a fair trial, no matter the crime. The 14th Amendment simplified all people born in the United States are U.S. citizens and get equal protections, and states can't make or enforce a law that deprives them of this. This amendment is actually why Trump was denied getting rid of birthright citizenships, because it was unconstitutional. However, he is still getting away with not doing due process, which is also unconstitutional. This sounds crazy, but several Americans have been wrongly deported because they had no trial to prove whether they were an immigrant or not. Here are some who have been. I've gone over the facts and laws which appeal to most people, but to be honest, any deportation feels wrong to me. The United States of America was never ours to begin with. It was the Native Americans who were enslaved by the so-called discoverers of America, which the European Americans so-called freed them by putting them on undesirable land to control them and make them follow U.S. laws. But many were forced onto these reservations. European Americans killed many of them, forced them to wear clothes they viewed as normal. Through feuding tribes together, got many of them killed when they brought over their new diseases. The European Americans completely stole Native Americans' land, uprooted their lives, took away their food supplies, and cut them off from medical resources. So I ask you, how can anyone be illegal on stolen land? The only difference between an illegal immigrant and a legal one is paperwork. They are person first. A piece of paper shouldn't dictate a person's ability to live or die. Hopefully now that you have all this information, you realize why people are mad. Now I'm going to get to the title of this video, which was the whole point. What is going on in Los Angeles? There are massive protests going on there, understandably so, considering the mass unconstitutional deportations. Another thing that is contributing to the protests is that California literally used to be part of Mexico until 1846. So it would make sense that they make up a large percent of the population there, and see why this is unjust. Contrary to popular belief, the protests were peaceful and getting attention, which of course makes the president mad that more eyes were on the illegal acts he was doing. I would be remiss not to mention the vandalism. However, if you go to the protest or see a live stream, police antagonizing the protesters comes first, then people reasonably getting mad and acting out. That, of course, is the point, to make the protests look violent and discredit them as anarchist or simply vandalist, when in reality it is such a small percentage and not the majority. Before the National Guard and Marines were there, it was videos of people blowing bubbles, holding signs, singing, holding flags, holding hands. Now there is graphic videos of people nearly losing their lives from rubber bullets. Rubber bullets are called less lethal, though they are still a bullet just wrapped in rubber. They are meant to be shot at the ground and bounce off the pavement and hurt like hell and disperse the crowd. The National Guard is not doing that, though. They are shooting straight into the crowd, which makes the less lethals now just as lethal as a bullet. I saw a horrific scene on Hasanabi's Twitch livestream of a rubber bullet hitting someone directly in the head. He states he saw the person's skull. People began running and screaming despite the warnings from the streamer to stay calm and walk to prevent a stampede. Volunteer medics rushed onto the scene for the man, and it is clear this would not have had happened if the National Guard had not been called in for a peaceful protest. The National Guard and Marines are only making things worse, but despite this, their time has been extended by the president and the court. That is the current ongoing situation. I'm going to leave you with an old poem that is still relevant by Martin Niemöller. First, they came for the communist, and I did not speak out, because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out, because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out, because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out, because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. The communities targeted may change, but the message still holds. Thank you for watching, whether you agree or disagree with me. I'm happy you took the opportunity to listen to a different perspective, and it's really helpful to stay educated and learn all sides of a story so you can make an informed opinion. So I'm really grateful to all of you. Most importantly, I want everyone to stay safe and stay weird. Thank you.